Good morning and welcome to Zen Fits here in Blackstone on the day before Thanksgiving at the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. So we have guests in the house family here. So this is my foyer you're seeing here. You know, it's kind of like, you see, its doors are shut, you see. So I have my little studio. And the doors are shut, and the rest of the family's running around the house talking about this or that. And I'm here broadcasting my Zen fit to the world, and they don't care. I mean, they put up with me. So, but I just had the thought, Thanksgiving, and I say this is I'm at this, Blackstone is the center, I'm at the center of the world, but you too are at the center of the world. And so at Thanksgiving, all the fragmented pieces of the loaf, the sacred loaf, returns to the oven, where it was born. In other words, people return to the home tree on Thanksgiving. All the pieces come home. Thanksgiving is like a mother, in the sense that it, turn this a little. Thanksgiving is like a mother. You see the mother there, the Virgin Mary. She holds her arm out, and all the children can come home. All of them, black, white, red, yellow, everybody, all the religions, all the fragmented pieces, all the broken pieces of mankind can come home to the mother at Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is kind of like a great universal ritual celebrating the mother, who includes all. And it's also a I see it more like as a secular Eucharist. A lot of people think, oh, the Eucharist is just in the church, it's not anywhere else, But I look at the Eucharist as a formula that can be applied to anything where the whole is broken and reunited through eating it. So the Eucharist basically is eating, and you eat the broken God to restore the God. So there is a mysterious transitional unification of the fragments in the Eucharist, in the Mass, that is ritualistic performed, you see. Now this is outwardly done, performed in form, in history with real people. So the Thanksgiving is the whole bird, the sacred bird. It's even, Trump just forgave the bird, one bird. It's kind of like one bird is selected and touched by the king, by the president, you see, and made sacred. So that bird that is not eaten becomes the resurrected Christ, so to speak. This is the bird that kind of like is the restored whole bird, while all the other birds become sacrificial birds, in that they get cut up and served and eaten, and the family is restored. The family, by coming back together, the pieces coming back together, the grieving of the broken family and the regrets, and oh, I did that and I shouldn't have done that, and all the past pains come back are resolved and healed by the sacrifice of the turkey, ritually speaking, of course, not a real turkey. That's where the fundamentalist mind, well, the turkey didn't do it. He didn't choose to get, So you have to think metaphorically here to go with me. So here we are on the eve of Thanksgiving, and tomorrow, and even today, the family members will be coming back to the home tree. And we're expecting 35 people here tomorrow. They all bring food, so it's not just us cooking everything. It's it's a smorgasbord of more than we can eat, And one family's coming from California, one from Illinois. They come from the south, they come from the north. All the strains of the original family come back to the home tree. Unfortunately, we actually live in the home tree. 606 South Main Street is the home tree of this family. It's over 100 years old, and the grandmother lived here, and it was the tradition to come back, all of that, you see. It's a wonderful experience, all that. So anyway, I feel like I'm broadcasting from the center of the world. So anyway, I named this talk, I got this idea when I was on Facebook, which is where I get all my ideas. All I know is what's on Facebook. Kind of like Will Rogers, who, the comedian of the 30s, and he was a political commentator. All I know is what's in the newspapers. Well, all I know is what's on Facebook. So what was on Facebook today, one of my little things, was a picture, a comparison, a juxtaposition of Mr. Rogers and John Wayne. Boom. And I thought, well, no, Mr. Rogers is a new movie out now by what's his name? And we all know who John Wayne is. You know. So John Wayne is kind of like the epitome, the personification of American masculinity. And so is Mr. Rogers. Try to think of a name, you can't think of, remember it. Anyway, but Mr. Rogers is a new movie out. And what's the difference between Mr. Rogers and John Wayne? Who are you see? Now let's I've been reading, I connect dots. My mind is like a dot connector. It's like, oh, what happens if you put this together and this together? Oh, you get that idea. What happens if you put these three ideas? Oh, you get that idea, you see. That's kind of like the way I work. Oh, I connect these two things and zap, an idea. So if I connect Mr. Rogers and John Wayne, I get a satori, a zap. I see. See, so what do I see? Well, Mr. Rogers, of course, is what the John Wayne would be an effeminate man. Of course, so he advocated inclusion. Everything was about unity. Everything was about, come on in, I accept all of you. You know, and this is basically the teaching of Jesus, the inclusion, you see, the acceptance of the poor and the leper and the rich and the whore and all of that, you see. I embrace them all. So Jesus is kind of like that mother, a thanksgiving that embraces you. Everybody come on in, you see, the mother coming home, you see. But then the other aspect of Jesus is also called the judge. And there's John Wayne. Measure up, kid. You know, you're never going to succeed. You know, get it together. You know, the judge. Boom, you got to measure up. The mother, oh, come on in. You'll be fine. My favorite commercial is the one about the hammer, where the kid, a Mr. Rogers kind of kid, a Mr. Rogers kind of person, he comes back and he's got a job with GM. He's going to do some software, and he's so proud, and the father's sitting there. Well, that's really fine, son. I guess it's time to give you your granddaddy's hammer. And he pumps a big hammer down there, pump, you know. And Mr. Rogers' kid, the little software engineer, kind of looks at it with a little bit of trepidation, and John Wayne, look, you can't pick it up, can you? You can't lift the hammer, can you? And the mother says, oh, don't worry, you're going to change the world. There you go, right there, John Wayne and Mr. Rogers. And that goes into our political separation now. It's almost like in new forms, the Catholics and the Protestants have separated. The Protestant would be Trump, John Wayne, the man's man. You got to measure up before you can be American. You got to speak English. You got to do all these things and conform to measure up before you get accepted, buddy. And the other one is, come on in, the immigrants, everybody come on in. Everybody come in. We accept everybody. It doesn't mean open borders, so don't go running off on that. It just means opening to everyone, the Virgin Mary, the mother, America as a mother, or America as a father, a judge, a stern father. Measure up, kid. Come on in. You're going to change the world. So the father looks back to the original man and says, you don't measure up. You're not measuring up to the ideal. And the mother looks forward to see, you're going to create the ideal. You're going to come on in. You're going to build a new world. And the other one says, you're going to restore the old world. You're going to restore family honor. Oh, you're going to create, you know, see how it goes, the dance. It goes through history, this dance. It goes through history, the dance between the mother and the father. Who's going to run the family? Who's going to be the center, the mother or the father? Is the family going to be a matriarch or a patriarch, you see? There can only be one center at the time. Now what we struggle for, see, but there has to be, a family has to have a mother and father. You can't have a mother without a father or a father without a mother. I mean, that's the chemistry. Connect these two points and you get a baby, you see. Connect these two opposites, you get something new. You get a new world. That baby is a new world, you see. Old world, new world. It's all there in the biology, the ritual, you see, of the two that becomes one that divides and becomes two, and becomes one and divides in two, and one and two, and one and two. And the formula, the dialectic goes through time. The same dialectic, the same formula in new forms. But if you don't understand the forms, if you don't understand the formula, you get caught by identifying with one or the other. And if you identify with one and make one the whole, then you reject the other. But you can't reject the other because the one make two, you see. So by trying to reject what you cannot reject, you create guilt, you create wars, you create religious wars, you see. So we're kind of like in that place right now, between these two different views. The inclusion, open everybody, exclusion, get the fuck out. You know, the purist, the Puritan. So Trump is kind of like a Puritan in the sense that America is originally pure and we're going to get back to that purity by eliminating all of the impurities, all the germs, all the junk that we've accumulated. We're going to clean this house and get back to its pristine, original form created by the founding fathers, you see. So we get back to the one by eliminating what's not one. But the other view is how we're going to get to the one. We're going to get to the one by including new people, new values, new ingredients. We're going to include it into the stew. We're going to come up with a greater pot, you see. And now we're going to get back to the original pot by eliminating what wasn't in the formula. You added that. You added immigrants. You added gay people. That wasn't in the formula. You added LGBT. Who put that in the Constitution? That's not in the formula. Get the fuck out. So there it goes, you see. The dance, you know, between the father and the mother. The queen and the king. England history. I've been watching the history of the monarchy. And it's this constant struggle between the king, and of course then you get the queen, and then she has to act like a man, you know, and so forth, you see. Or you get that, well, a queen can't be king. That was Hillary. Hillary, you're a queen. You can't be. There is no queen of America. You know, there's just a male of the father of America. No queens, no mothers. Get out. You're subordinate, like this, you see. So all of these identities and these, all goes back to Mr. Rogers and John Wayne. Who do you like? Who do you identify with? Can you put them both together? Can you have John Wayne and Mr. Rogers as one? That is two? You kind of like that's what has to happen. You kind of have to be male, and we're all androgynous. You see, we're all male and female inside, but we're only going to project one outside. So we're both all androgynous, male, female, but we can only project or manifest one face. So we project male, or we project a female, but the interface is the opposite. Now, if we reject the opposite, if I reject my female, then I become John Wayne. If I reject my female, then I become, well, that was John Wayne. If I reject the male, then I become Mr. Rogers, you see. So you got the warrior and the peacemaker. So these two are both valid viewpoints. Mr. Rogers and John Wayne are both valid viewpoints, but you can't have one without the other. So we have to create a dance. We have to create a life where we can be the one which is needed in the moment. Does this moment require me to be Mr. Rogers? Or does this moment require to be John Wayne? What's my duty? Well, my duty then is what the moment requires of me, not what I think the moment requires. Not. You see, if I fix myself as John Wayne or Mr. Rogers, you see, then I'm going to only be half right. If the moment requires John Wayne, and if I fix myself as John Wayne, then I'll be John Wayne in the right moment. But if the moment requires Mr. Rogers, I'm going to be John Wayne. And now there's going to be a war. Because the moment, the duty of the moment is to be open, inclusive, but I'm fixed in being exclusive, you see. The judge. I can't let go of my role. I've identified with the role. I've identified with a performance. And I've made myself fixed, and I suffer. And I suffer, you see. And the world suffers. My family suffers. Everybody suffers. So my father was a captain, retired captain. He identified with the role of being the officer, and at home he was the officer. He was not the mother. He was not Mr. Rogers. He didn't take me fishing. And so he was demanding. Measure up. Agree with me. Yeah. Anyway, happy pre-Thanksgiving. Thanks for dropping in, and I hope you enjoyed the meal. Did you like the breast or the drumstick? Light meat or dark meat? Turkey's got it all.